Hi everyone, it's Linda. Don't you just love technology? I was on Be Live TV and I was going to be with you today with a full agenda to help you learn how to have better communications with everyone in your life. So I decided we're going to do it anyway. I've got my phone, I've got my ear set, and if you're going to join me, I'm going to see you and be able to share this with you. So thanks for tuning in to my Compassionate Mediation page, where we're starting our compassionate mediation, our compassionate communication invitation. So I'm going to take a breath because I just had all kinds of technology problems. And rather than reschedule for later, hi, Wendy, rather than reschedule for later, I wanted to have you join me now so we could talk about how to improve every relationship you have with the people in your life right now. So let's take a breath and just bring ourselves here. I'm really glad you're here, whether you're listening now or you're listening later. And I actually don't need these because I'm not going to hear you. I'm just going to see you. So I'll take off my earphones and then I can put my phone down. So take a breath, a belly breath, all the way down into your... Here we go. That should be centered. Stop jumping. Okay. Hi, Bonnie. Thanks for joining. And where you are is in my office, where I was going to go live on Facebook with my computer on, but my computer ended up going under. So I've got my phone, and I want to join you live now. So think about a relationship that you'd like to improve. And I'm hoping by the end of this video, and certainly by the end of the next 4 days, you're going to improve that relationship just by changing the way you're being in it. So yesterday, I invited you to think about a relationship that you might be having a problem with. And it could be your child, your parent, a friend, a coworker, your spouse, your ex-spouse, anyone in your life that causes you some form of distress. And just as an aside, I was thinking, well, I don't have that many people because I'm 70, I've done this work for a long time, I've kind of healed all those relationships. Then I got honest with myself and recognized that even though I'd always like to be the best mother and friend and daughter and sister possible, I don't always come from my highest self. So when I get upset and when I start reacting, I have tools that I've learned, both personally and professionally, that I wanted to share with you today. So hello, Marla. Hello, Lorenzo. Thanks for joining. And I'm going to be doing this to answer your questions. So I've got my glasses on so I can check to see who's here and what you'd like to know about any relationship that you have. Because when we come from our higher self, which is that calm, compassionate, clear version of our being, rather than our reactive, human-triggered, blaming, judgmental, ego-based parts, when we come from our higher self, we bring into our relationships a whole new way of being. And that's what we're talking about today, along with tips to improve every relationship you have. So if you want to put into the chat, if you want to be honest and share just who you might be focusing on, I could actually tailor this video to you today. If there's somebody that has a problem with their parent, I can talk about that. If there's someone that has a problem with their partner, we can talk about that. And for those of you, oh, thank you for the thumbs up. And for those of you who aren't really sure but just want to get some of these tools, thanks for joining. All right. So what is compassionate communication? Compassionate communication has 4 parts to it. Number 1 is you come from your best self. In other words, you don't come from your reactive ego state. You come from that spiritual, centered, peaceful place within you, even if you've forgotten how to get there. So you come from your best self, and then, oh, look at the hearts. And hello to Mexico. Oh, hello, Helene. So good to see you. Now we're having fun. Yesterday when I did this, I was talking to crickets. Now that I see you're here, it just gives me so much joy and energy in a way that I'd like to serve you to see how we can help you create better relationships. So the first part of being in a compassionate, communicating relationship is where you come from your best self. And we're going to talk about how to get there. Another way is, and am I looking at the right hole? I'm looking here. I should be looking here. So I probably look cross-eyed. There. How's that? So come from your best self. The second way is to let go of your limiting beliefs. So just think about somebody with whom you'd like to have a better relationship, and just notice what you're telling yourself about that person. How mean they are to you, how they don't honor you enough, how they don't pay you enough attention, how they neglect you, how they're sarcastic. You have a whole story about how these people react to you. And what I'd like you to do is consider that just because you have those thoughts, they may not necessarily be true. So when you're compassionately communicating, you can let go of all those limiting beliefs and be open to new possibilities. The third part of, hi Joanne, I'm glad you made it back. I lost you on the last video. The third part of compassionate communication, come from your best self, let go of limiting beliefs, is to unburden pain from the past. So just think about it. How much of our triggers in our current relationship with whomever we're trying to better the relationship, how much of it is based on the past? We're not really fully present to what's going on in the moment because we're already still carrying grudges from the past. We're projecting that it's going to take over into the future, and the computer died. Sorry about that. Hello, Amani. I appreciate. Oh, you just are sharing my video. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, and even though this is on the fly and it doesn't have my agenda points that I had on my other presentation that was ready, please share, because my passion is to be a 70-year-old grandmother of 3, plus some others that I love like grandchildren. That's my major passion. And the other passion is to actually share compassionate communication and compassionate mediation with the world. Now, if you're some of my family members, you probably think I'm a little crazy. And you're right. However, it's still a mission. And what I'm learning is I can't do it alone. So if you can share that there is this thing called compassionate communication, where we come from our best self, let go of limiting beliefs, unburden pain from the past, and the last one is we relate from our hearts. Can you imagine what it would be like? Hi, Carol. Can you imagine what it would be like if we could all relate from our hearts? Not from our heads, but from that deepest source of compassion and acceptance and love and forgiveness. If we could open our hearts to the people that we're in conflict with right now, the relationship changes. And it changes even if they don't do anything different ever again. Because what changes is your perspective. And Wayne Dyer says, as I said yesterday, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. So if you change the way you're looking at that person without judgment or blame or recriminations or the past stories or the beliefs or the filters or the walls you put around your heart. Deep breath. If you could really open up from your highest and best self without all that noise in your head, without all that pain from your past, and really open your heart knowing that you'll be safe, just think of the difference in that relationship. And I just mentioned a word. Hi, Mary. Thanks for joining. I just mentioned the word of safety. Hello, Dale. Thanks for joining. I love seeing everybody here. It opens my heart because that's what I'm doing. I had a whole agenda on my other Be Live TV. It had all different points that I wanted to make, and then the screen went dead. So I called Tamara Monosoff, my coach, and she said, go live on my phone. And that's where I am. So thank you for joining me. And I've got my glasses on. So not only can I see that you're here, but I really invite you to post a question. So if you're having an issue, of course, you're sharing it with the world, so you may not want to do that. But what I do want to tell you is if you want to send me a question to support@lindakroll.com, support@lindakroll, LINDAKROLL.com, ask me any question, and I'm going to answer it in the next 5 days. because for the next 5 days, I'm going to be here live by hook or crook, by computer or on the phone, and I'm going to be sharing how compassionate communication and compassionate mediation can help you heal and transform all of your relationships. Excuse me. So I'm going to take a breath and give you a chance to post anything you'd like or take time to share. Okay, so let's take a breath and let's talk about what it means to get to self. First of all, what is self? In internal family systems, which is a therapy practice that I've learned and share, Dick Schwartz talks about being in self is when we're calm, we're clear, we're compassionate, we're connected, we're curious, we're creative. A lot of C words that indicate that we're really coming from a peaceful place within ourselves that doesn't have an agenda, it doesn't judge. It's really what I mentioned yesterday, it's a witnessing presence. So you can be the eye in the middle of the storm of what's ever going on around you, in your family, in your workplace, with your parents. You can still be in self and notice. And the way you stay safe is you learn to set appropriate boundaries. And we'll talk more about boundaries. But when you're in self, you speak for your parts instead of from your parts. So what does it mean to have parts? Okay, when you think of the person with whom you'd like to have a better relationship, think of the story you tell yourself. He did this, she did that, they never do this, they never do that, they always do whatever, yada, yada, yada. And then notice what happens to your body when you're telling yourself that old story. It gets tense, it gets tight. Notice what you're thinking. Notice your feelings. You might feel angry or resentful. You might feel hurt or sad or scared or rageful. But these are the parts that I'm talking about. So the way I describe parts, and I've got a handout on this, that I want to offer you at the Compassionate Communication Community. So again, if I had a little slide, it would be down here now. It would say Compassionate Communication Community on Facebook, which I just started, and I'm going to post all those videos. Hello, Lacey. Thanks for joining. I'm going to post all of these videos from yesterday and for the next 5 days, so you have access to them. And I'm also going to post relevant handouts or PDFs that will help you, because I have a whole handout on self and parts, but I want to explain it to you a little bit now. All right, here's my 2-minute blurb. You're actually in my office in Deerfield, and the great thing is I'm reaching you wherever you are, and I'm so thrilled by that, and I'm so thrilled to see all your names here. So, and those of you who see it later, I'm thrilled with you too. And what I want you to know is that when you go to Compassionate Communication Community, I'm going to post all the relevant information that I've been offering to my clients, my individual clients, my couple clients, my divorce mediation clients for the last 25 years. I'd love to just share it and get out the message that we can all be more compassionate, we can all be more accepting, we can all be more loving, and we can all be more forgiving. CALF. We can all be those things with ourselves as well as everyone else. And when I put together the acronym of compassion, acceptance, love, and forgiveness, it spelled the word calf, as in the calf on your leg. And I thought, what a great leg to stand on. Instead of needing to stand on the need to be right or the need to be seen, it's a leg that sets a foundation in compassion. So I'm offering that to you. And Joanne just asked a question about boundaries. See, this really is live, and I really would like to be of service. So let's talk about boundaries. And to talk about boundaries, I probably need to talk a little bit about codependency. And what I mean by codependency, I see codependency as a continuum. I think you've heard the word from the 80s. Melanie Beattie wrote all the books on, oh, thank you for the hearts. Melanie Beattie wrote the books on codependency, Beyond Codependency and Codependent No More. Codependent No More is the first one. Beyond Codependency is the second one. And in her books, she talks about how when we have families that are either alcoholic or there's some mental illness, or even in any dysfunctional family. And try as hard as we might, all of our families are dysfunctional on some level, I think. But where it becomes a problem is when we're children and we notice that we have to take care of others in order to feel safe, then on this continuum, we become caretakers, and we're all caretakers on some level. We're all, on some level of the nurturing, giving, caring continuum. But where it becomes a problem is where taking care of other people is more important than taking care of ourselves. Hello, Pamela. Good to see you. We're talking about boundaries and codependency. Hello, Sylvia. Good to see you. We're talking about boundaries and codependency. So a lot of people are codependent. A lot of women are codependent. A lot of men are codependent. And what I mean by codependent, which was actually my master's thesis when I was getting my counseling degree, was on codependency. So I am sort of an expert, and I'm also a recovering codependent. So I have a lot of empathy for those of us who have these traits. And the traits are, on this continuum from being a caretaker to being codependent, is we're all taking care of other people's needs over taking care of our own. So we have, as we like to fix and save and rescue. We don't like conflict. We don't know how to set boundaries because we're so busy trying to please or take care of or have people like us that we just learn how to do that. And we're so busy over here taking care of other people that nobody's really home taking care of us, which is our job. So instead of feeling like we have an internal locus of control, meaning we know inside that we are good, we are valuable, we are important, we deserve to have our needs met. We don't really learn that as children, because as children, as we're taking care of other people, it's that we have to take care of other people in order to feel safe. So as we recognize that we have these traits, we're nice people. In Melanie Beattie's books, Codependent No More and Beyond Codependency, she helps you recognize how can you be a good person, how can you connect to your spiritual source, how can you say what you want and need, and how can you set appropriate boundaries. Greg, so good to see you, sweetie. Thanks for checking in. You're one of the few family members that has the nerve to show up. Way to go. Anyway, we're talking about boundaries and codependency, and how setting boundaries is hard for some of us because we're such pleasers. We just want people to like us. We want to be the ones to give. We don't want to say no. We want to be seen as good. And what happens when we start setting boundaries, when we recognize we have a right to know what we want and need, to know we deserve it, to ask for it, to receive it, and to be grateful. Hello, Tony. Good to see you. When we realize that we have the right to have our own opinions, to stand up for what's true for us, to know what we want, ask for it, be willing to receive it, and be grateful. When we can do that because we have an internal locus of control, it comes from inside of us. We don't need that approval. Instead of needing the approval from codependent relationships where we're not okay unless people like us or we're seen positively. Julie, so good to see you, honey. Thanks for stopping by. We're talking about compassionate communication and how to make all your relationships better. Someone asked a question about boundaries, and now I'm talking about how when we're codependent, which means we put other people's needs too much ahead of our own, when we're codependent, we have a hard time setting boundaries. And what a boundary is just a way of recognizing that you have the right to decide for your life what is appropriate and what is not, what you like and what you don't, and who you'll let in and who you won't. So telling someone what's acceptable. Hello, Allison. So nice to see you, one of my Chopra buddies. Setting boundaries is something you can do. Hi, Jackie. So nice to see everybody here. So glad to see you. So just a brief recap, and I want to see the time. We've got time because I started late because I lost my Facebook connection on my computer. So just to recap for those of you who are joining us, we're talking about compassionate communication and how compassionate communication can help all of your relationships, and how compassionate communication is relating from your best self, letting go of limiting beliefs, unburdening pain from your past, and relating from your heart. And the issue is, how do you do all that and stay safe? Because when your heart has been hurt, when someone has crossed your boundaries or in some way infringed on your space, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, physically. How do you set a boundary? Well, you set a boundary from your higher self. You set a boundary by talking about the parts of you that need your attention. In other words, instead of getting enraged or withdrawing or being sarcastic or going out and getting drunk or having an affair or getting depressed or any number of ways to cope, eating a lot of chocolate, instead of doing that, we learn to go inside, find that inner child of who we are, and begin to recognize we don't have to react the same way we did as children. We can respond from a whole new level of consciousness, of self-leadership. And I did bring, to share, my inner child pillow. Cute? 4 years old. Someone did this for me. I really didn't do it for myself, but I loved it because it gives me a visual, and I'm going to invite you to get your own inner child something so that you can remind yourself that inside of you is a little girl or little boy who deserves to have his or her needs met, who can follow the 5 steps to receive what you want and need. And those 5 steps to receive what you want and need are these. Ready? Number 1, you have to know what you want and need. And oftentimes as codependents, we forget because we've spent a lifetime trying to figure out what he needs or she needs or they need and do that. So learning how to focus on yourself, take some time to meditate, take some time to journal, go for a walk in nature, breathe, build some space into our busy lives. Then consider remembering what it is you really want. Not in reaction to what you think you need to be, but in reaction to what really brings you joy. So first we have to know what we want and need. The second part is we have to know we deserve it. And for a lot of people, that's really hard. Because whatever we learned in our family of origins, whatever we learned in our prior relationships, we got some bad messages there. And we've come to believe those messages. So that's why letting go of our limiting beliefs is really important, because they probably weren't true when we first got those messages, and they're certainly not true now. So when you're learning the 5 steps to receive what you want and need, the first one is to know what you want and need. The second one is to know you deserve it. And believe me, you do. You are, in this moment, no matter what's happened to you in your life, no matter what choices you've made or experiences that you have, you are divine. You are a channel of love. You are a beacon of light. And that's who you are. So you definitely deserve to have your needs met. And if you have any hesitation, thanks for the heart. Absolutely. That's so true. And if you have any hesitation, come back for the next 5 days, because we're going to keep talking about this until we feel the compassionate relationship we want with ourselves, so that we can offer that compassion to all the people with whom we communicate. And when we do that, the relationships change miraculously. Thanks for all the thumbs up and the hearts. I agree. So the 5 steps to get what you want to need. You have to know what it is. You have to remember it. Excuse me. You have to know you deserve it. You're divine. On a scale of 1 to 10, you are a 10. I promise. And we'll talk more about that this week. The third step is you have to learn how to ask for what you want and need. Hello, Marlene. Thanks for joining. We're talking about, hello, Sylvia. You're so welcome. The steps to receive what you want and need. Know what you want and need. Know you deserve it. Number 3, learn how to ask. And steps 1 and 2 are really important, because once you recognize that you deserve it, then the ask is organic. It's not a whine. It's not a nag. It's just a request. And the person you're asking can say yes or no. And if they say no, it's not your problem to fix it, because you're not being codependent anymore. But you learn how to ask. Excuse me. The 4th step, know, deserve, ask. The 4th step is be willing to receive. And for codependents, that's often hard. Remember I said on this continuum, it's easier for us to give and give and give. And so learning how to receive, exercising that muscle of receptivity is really important. And the 5th step is to be grateful. So again, 5 steps to get what you want and need. Know what you want and need. excuse me, know what you want and need. Know you deserve it. I promise you do. Learn how to ask, be willing to receive, and stay grateful. And I promise if you do that, or even begin to think about doing that, you're going to see your relationships changing. Because going back to compassionate communication, and we're almost at the end for today, but we'll continue on tomorrow. Compassionate communication means, and before I go there, think of the person with whom you were having conflict when we started this session, or yesterday, or anyone right now. Think of a person with whom you're having conflict, and ask yourself, what if I could, in this moment, come from my best self, even energetically? You don't have to do anything. When we're talking about boundaries, I don't care if you ever talk to this person again. I'm just talking about your internal reality. Deep breath. What if you connected to your best self and realized you don't have to be defensive in this relationship? You also can set a boundary and not be in it. But if you choose to be in it, you can be in it in a way that speaks for your parts instead of from your parts. Meaning you don't have to get enraged. You can tell that person, there's a part of me that's angry. And usually there's a part of you that's angry because there's an exiled part of you that's hurt. And I guarantee you, if you start talking to the other person about, hi Gina, if you start talking to someone with whom you're having conflict about your pain instead of your anger or your resentment, instead of giving them you messages about what you're doing wrong, give them I messages about how you are feeling, that changes the relationship. But even if you're just thinking about it right now, even if you're considering that it's possible to have a better relationship with this person, even if they never change, because you're going to show up even energetically, hi Gina, you're going to show up even energetically with more openness, more calm, all those self-words, more compassion, more clarity, more curiosity, more connection, more courage to be in this relationship, not codependently, but knowing what you deserve, knowing you have a right to receive it, and showing up with a lot more inner strength, okay, inner light, inner being. So in compassionate communication, consider knowing that you're going to show up with this person in a different way. Number 2, consider if I could flip a switch right now in your head, if you could flip a switch and say, whatever limiting belief I have about this person, I'm no longer going to believe. That was then. This is now. And yesterday I talked about the 3 ways to get to self. One was to practice witnessing awareness. Another was to forgive, and that's really important. I have a blog post on forgiveness I'll post on the page. And the third is to start over. And as I said yesterday, I've done it with my children. I even do it with my grandchildren. And I just want to take a short minute to tell you about my granddaughter, who's fabulous, as are my grandsons. But she often talks herself into a corner where she has to leave the room and go upstairs and pout for a little bit about whatever had insulted her. And we've learned that if I go up and just ask her if she wants to start over, that's code word for let's let go of whatever nonsense we were just dealing with. Let's not rehash it. Let's not talk about who was wrong or who was right or what needs to happen. Let's just start over. So what if you could start over by not believing the old stories that you're telling yourself about the past? The verbiage is hard for you to think about, Joanne? Then let's not worry about verbiage. Let's think about you showing up without any thought that's negative about the other person, even if you think they deserve it. What if you show up as what we've come to know as coming from our highest consciousness, our level of oneness, that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and when we can relate from our hearts, we're relating from that essence and who we are with the essence of someone else, even if we don't want to be in relationship with them anymore. So if we can let go of whatever beliefs we're carrying, we're going to be free. And so we're connecting to our best self. We're letting go of limiting beliefs. We're beginning to create a way to unburden pain from the past, and we'll be talking about that more this week too. And fourth, we relate from our hearts. And try it today. Just try. Hi, Lynn. Thanks for joining. We're almost out of time today, but we're going to stay on for just a few minutes because I want to see if anybody has any questions. And just a brief recap for those of you who joined late or just want to remember what we talked about. This is part of my compassionate communication invitation. My computer broke, so I'm on Facebook. Hi, Lynn. And I'm on my phone. And I hope to come back on my computer tomorrow where I'll have a little more space with which to see you. And I've been off camera a little bit. Let me go on here. There we go. I've got my mandala that's been in the way, but here I am. So what we're talking about is how compassionate communication will help you heal and transform all of your relationships, including the one you have with yourself. And what compassionate communication is, before we close, is the ability to connect to your best self, to let go of limiting beliefs, to unburden pain from the past, and relate from your heart. And when you do that, you can begin to form boundaries in your life so that you can relate with people with a lot of safety and clarity. Because when you're coming from self, you're clear and confident and courageous. But you can stay connected in a way that really allows you to be compassionate. And when you do that, things change. So if you think of someone with whom you're having some kind of conflict or some kind of challenge, and you use any of these tools today, even energetically. And what that means is, take a deep breath. If you decide right now that you'd like to start over in your mind's eye, that you'd like to be more compassionate or accepting or loving or forgiving of yourself in this relationship, and also possibly of the other person, that's going to shift the energy. So whether it's your partner, your former partner, your parents, your children, your colleagues, your friends, you can create new and better relationships with compassionate communication. So for all of you who joined me, I am so grateful that you're here. For all of you who are listening later, please come back. And I'm going to be here live at 12:30 on my Compassionate Mediation page on Facebook. Yes, Joanne, one great question. It's absolute. Joanne's question is it possible to set boundaries without talking to the other person? Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought this up, because compassionate communication can be an inner game. In other words, you don't have to decide if you want to interact with this person, but practicing the tools of compassionate communication and eventually compassionate mediation, if you're considering what to do about a relationship or a marriage, then when you learn compassionate communication, you set boundaries within yourself, where you learn to trust that you are now clear on what you want and what you don't want, and what you are looking to receive and what you won't tolerate. And you never have to convey it to that other person. You just have to act on it when they cross your boundary. If they're crossing their boundary, all you have to do is tell them in the moment, either it's not acceptable, you can tell them how you're feeling, an I message, not a you message, you can leave, but the boundary setting starts inside with the confidence to know that you are no longer a little girl, and I'm not a little girl any longer, and we've lived a long life, and we've learned skills on how to protect our children, and we've learned skills on how to protect our inner children and the parts of us that need protection. So you can definitely set boundaries when you're doing it on your own. And you can definitely change the energy between the two of you with your thoughts. So right now, you're so welcome, Joanne. Thanks for stopping by. So for now, set the intention, just the intention, on the relationship you'd like to have with this person. So instead of focusing on the past and all they did wrong and all the ways they've hurt you or neglected you or abandoned you or any number of things you're telling yourself, deep breath, deep breath. See if you're willing to start over in your heart. That's it. You don't even have to share anything with them. And by starting over, it means focus on your intention. Set your GPS for the relationship you'd like to have. And that's what the universe is going to support you in creating. Not a rehashing of the one you've already left. And the more you set your intentions on those positive feelings you'd like to have in all of your relationships, joy, love, peace, contentment, passion, interaction, safety, fun, whatever words you want to put in there, those are the relationships you want to create. And you set boundaries to keep out the people that don't want to play with you in that sandbox of your life. And you invite in people to match that energy of your intention. So your intention is to compassionately communicate, to come from your best self, let go of limiting beliefs, unburden pain from your past, and relate from your heart. So, thank you for stopping by. If you have questions, send them to support@lindakroll.com, and we'll talk about them tomorrow. Stop by for the next 5 days, where we're going to be continuing this dialogue with even more ways to compassionately communicate and improve every relationship in your life, so you can talk to anyone about anything and actually heal and transform relationships. It's miraculous. And if you'd like, go to Compassionate Communication Community on Facebook, where we'll meet and I'll share the videos and whatever other relevant information and pictures I have. And for those of you who are struggling with a relationship, for those of you who are struggling to decide if you want to stay or go, or you've been in marriage counseling and you don't know how to compassionately communicate, I'm going to invite you. Hello, Christine. We're just ending, but you can see the replay, but I'm so glad you stopped by. I'm inviting you to go to cmtoolkit.com. That's my Compassionate Mediation Toolkit, where I talk about compassionate communication, where you have a relationship assessment to see what changes you can make in your relationship. And you get a free chapter of my book on compassionate mediation right here that talks about being in self and everything that we've talked about here. So www.cmtoolkit.com for that free gift. And I'm also going to be starting a program on compassionate mediation later this month that we'll talk about later this week, so stay tuned, or let anyone know who's having relationship problems. And from my heart to yours, it was challenging to have my computer die out in the middle of what was going to be a live broadcast on my computer, but thank God for technology and the phone. And thank you all for being here. So from my heart to yours, go compassionately communicate with yourself today. Go do something you love. Say only nice things. Take all the care of yourself that you just wish someone would take care of you. And go have fun. Oh, bless you too, Sylvia. Bless you all. Love you all. Thanks for sharing. Family members, incredible. They all think I'm nuts, and I am. But I love you. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for coming by. See you soon. Bye-bye. You're welcome, Joanne. Thanks. Thanks for all the hearts. See you later. Bye-bye.